Hello again, gamers. Today I want to introduce you to a game called Silvanus. I'd like to introduce the main part of it at least, which is these little decks of cards here called Halots. What Halots are is basically a card version of dice, and that they have 6 sides, or in this game some of them have 8. And the purpose of the game, much like an RPG video game, is to fight certain levels of enemies, gain different weapons and things like that, and defense. And there's 2 ways to play this game, which is a time version, or a timeless version, which just gives you a certain amount of moves to achieve this. So this example I have here is if an enemy of level 4, this is what a player would be using, is just this right here. There'd be a little extra thing such as health stat deck and everything, but we'll get to that in another video. So one of the players that aren't active player will be a dealer and show you what the sequence is of an enemy. Say this is a level 4 scorpion. What to do is shuffle each of these decks separately. The proper way is to shuffle them like a regular deck and flip them as you're shuffling, so you have a chance of getting either side. After they do this with all 4 piles, what you do is deal out the 4 colors of the enemy. Now in a normal game, if you're dealt a spider, you must flip it over because spiders are the default setting. So this will just become a ladybug. Now, these cards here are your character cards, which have special abilities. One of the special abilities happens to be is if you're dealt a spider in a fight, you can keep it. So wow, that one's done. You want to match all 4 of these. To do that, the proper way to what we call a spin a Halot is to move it in place, always keeping single piles. Now the tricky thing is, whether you're timed or you're going by the amount of moves, is even if you, during your search for example, the fly, if you know where it is, or if you see it, it's not necessarily going to be easy to get to. For example, if you went to flip this one over and you see, oh, the fly's underneath, that's what I need. It's going to take 2 more flips, or spins as they're called in this game, to reveal it. You have to flip it once here, and one more time, and this part of the sequence is done. You continue this through all 3 until all of these match to defeat the enemy. If one of them doesn't match in the amount of time you have or amount of moves you're given, depending on how you're playing the game, you lose the battle. Now, like I said, you have special characters and weapons you gain during the game that can make exceptions to the rule, such as giving you more time, letting you ignore one that you made a mistake on, and things like that. As I said, there's also another type of Halot in this game called a numerical Halot, and they're referred to in this game as headstrong Halots. They represent harder enemies such as humans. This game you're obviously spiders. If you notice the character cards, different types of spiders represented by the eye patterns. And without revealing the storyline, different storylines in different games you play later, you become a human-sized spider and fight a bit larger enemies. So sometimes they require these headstrong Halots here, which are kind of basically like an 8-sided die, and that they have numerical pips. as you can see, 1 through 8. For these, the default pit is 1, and there's no sequence in the enemies of these type to match. Instead of matching a sequence, the colors don't really matter. They're just used to separate each Halot. You have a level of each enemy. For example, if you have a warrior called Arid, and his level is 30, depending what type of game you are playing, you have a certain amount of time or a certain amount of moves to spin through these Halots until they equal 30 and stop. Again, you either win or lose the battle. If you don't get to 30 in a lot of time or the amount of moves, you lose health. And that's basically what I want to share with you today with Silvanus.